Now, say what you will about the show Star Wars Rebels on the whole, and I know there are mixed feelings about it in the fan base. Some people really enjoyed it, others thought it was pretty good, but certainly a step down from Clone Wars, while others yet really weren't fans of it or didn't bother to watch it at all. Anyway, though overall the show got mixed reactions from the fans, it certainly did have its amazing moments or episodes, with Twilight of the Apprentice and Twin Sons being two that immediately spring to mind and were truly some excellent Star Wars. And if you watch no other episodes of Rebels, do yourself a favor and at least watch those two. They're fantastic, and they can indeed be enjoyed out of context or knowing little or nothing about the show. And look, that's not to say there aren't other great episodes or that the whole series isn't worth watching. In my opinion, it absolutely is. And there's also one heck of an ending to the series, which I'm about to spoil for you right now. An ending that was somehow both a perfect conclusion to the story of Rebels, and yet left us with quite the cliffhanger and potential for another very interesting story or series after Ezra and Thrawn get carried away into the great unknown by Purgils, or space whales as some call them. And then in the epilogue, which takes place sometime after, we saw that Sabine and Ahsoka were going to go off in search of Ezra, and I say sometime after because it wasn't exactly made clear as to just when that was. We do know it's after the Battle of Endor. Sabine says as much in her voiceover of the epilogue, but we don't know if it was days, weeks, or maybe even years later, maybe even 5 or more years later, which would put it sometime after The Mandalorian, or where the show currently is on the timeline. And that's important because, as seen in Episode 5 of Season 2 of The Mandalorian, and spoiler alert if you haven't seen it yet, we learn that Ahsoka is looking for Thrawn, and she seems to be willing to do whatever it takes to find him. And if you've seen Rebels, you may remember during the World Between Worlds episode, right before Ahsoka goes back through the portal, Ezra tells her to come find him. And though it didn't make a ton of sense in the moment, it did after the season finale, and maybe even implied Ezra knew he was about to take a trip across the galaxy. Whatever the case may be, Ahsoka did promise to find him, and she seems to be taking that promise very seriously, and I think there's little doubt her hunt for Thrawn is somehow connected to her hunt for Ezra. They did disappear together after all. And though a lot of people, I think, assumed that what was happening in The Mandalorian with Ahsoka was taking place after the Rebels epilogue and after Sabine and Ahsoka went looking for him, recently Dave Filoni cast a big shadow of doubt over that by saying, when asked about all this, that that's not necessarily chronological. I think the thing that people will most not understand is they want to go in a linear fashion, but as I learned as a kid, nothing in Star Wars really works in a linear fashion. He then went on to say, so in the vein of that history, when you look at the epilogue of Rebels, you don't really know how much time has passed, so it's possible that the story I'm telling in The Mandalorian actually takes place prior to that. Possible, I'm saying it's possible. And personally here, I don't think he's saying it's just possible, but I'd have to imagine he's likely saying that the epilogue is indeed afterwards, but in classic Dave Filoni fashion, he doesn't want to just come out and say it. He loves keeping his secrets and being mysterious. And look, when you really think about it, it makes sense that the Rebels epilogue hasn't happened yet. I mean, for one, why would they sort of spoil the hunt for Ezra, or should I say the story of it? I don't know about you, but with that ending, I was excited to see what happens next, to see exactly where Sabine and Ahsoka were going. It was actually the first time I was really excited for the character of Ezra Bridger. I don't dislike him or anything, but he's just never been a personal favorite. And so to then learn it already happened, that we maybe weren't going to get to actually see it, but instead we're going to maybe just be told what had happened at some point, well, that was pretty disappointing. Furthermore, the reason why Ahsoka may be so hell-bent on finding Thrawn is because he came back and Ezra did not. So she might fear that Ezra is dead and maybe was killed by Thrawn, but is instead obviously hoping that's not the case, and that he can offer clues about where Ezra is. She's hoping she can still keep her promise to come and find him. Which sort of leads to the question of what has Ahsoka been up to for the past 10 years or so since her fight against Darth Vader on Malachor, which is the moment Ezra pulled her out of using the World Between Worlds and where she ultimately went back to. And she's seen walking down into the temple at the end of the Twilight of the Apprentice episode. So was she stuck on Malachor for years and years, perhaps, until even after Ezra had gone missing, which would be about 2 years later? Even still, we have to wonder when she did get off of Malachor and where she went immediately after and what she did. Was she looking for Ezra this whole time and only came back when she heard Thrawn had returned? Whatever the case may be, there are so many interesting questions here, so many that I don't see The Mandalorian, the show I mean, being where they are addressed and answered. In fact, I don't think we'll see Ahsoka in the series again, at least not anytime soon. Instead, I think the rumors about Ahsoka getting her own series are true, and furthermore, that it may also sort of be the rumored sequel to Rebels series, and I think this will be a live-action series, not an animated one. I just don't see how they're not or wouldn't be one and the same, considering Dave Filoni, I believe, has all but confirmed that her appearance in The Mandalorian is before the Rebels epilogue, meaning both stories can easily flow into one. The Ahsoka series can then pick up with the search for Thrawn. We would then have time to learn what spurred the search in the first place, which basically means reiterating what happened in Rebels for those who have never seen the show, which would then pretty much mean we'd have to learn about the world between worlds there as well, which is rather interesting and leads to fun speculation about what they could use it for. But setting that aside for now, I'd have to imagine partway through Season 1 or maybe at the end of it, Ahsoka catches up with Thrawn and learns what happened to Ezra, and obviously Thrawn did not kill him. Rather, I think we'll learn that the two may have even worked together to some degree in order to survive something, and that Ezra willingly stayed behind for some reason, maybe in search of something, who knows. Either way, I think it'll have been his choice, that there's something he feels he has to find or do, which will make a good continued plot for the show after he's been found, and could tie into why he told Ahsoka to come find him in the first place when they were in the world between worlds. Maybe he had a vision of something he was meant to do. Again, who knows? And to go along with all this, there are rumors out there that they are looking to cast a live-action Thrawn, which shouldn't be a real surprise to anyone after the name drop by Ahsoka in The Mandalorian. I don't think there's any chance they'd mention him and then do nothing with it or go nowhere with it. Either way, one rumor out there, and yeah, I tend not to put too much stock in rumors usually, but sometimes they do turn out to be true. Anyway, one rumor I've seen is that the live-action Thrawn would be played by Lars Mikkelsen, the same actor who does his voice in Rebels, which is a choice I'd love to see, mainly because I think his Thrawn voice is so on point, and with a little face paint and some contact lenses, I think he could pull off a blue-skinned, red-eyed alien, as well as the next guy. Not to mention, he certainly has plenty of acting experience. All in all here, I think this makes perfect sense. It's the perfect way to kick off an Ahsoka series, and I have to believe that was the plan with that episode of The Mandalorian, to set that up by showing what Ahsoka looks like in live action for fans who already know and love her, and by introducing her to people who know little or nothing about her, who were seeing her for the very first time. And then her appearance also basically ends by giving her a sort of mission, again the search for Thrawn, that ties directly into what she was up to last time we saw her in Rebels, and is also a story many of us want to see continued. And so if I were a betting man, I'd be all in on the announcement of this show really soon, and maybe even tomorrow if the rumors are true that Disney will be announcing some of their upcoming movies and shows for Marvel, Star Wars, and Pixar tomorrow, or Thursday, December 10th. Well, that's all I've got for you this time. Now it's your turn to tell me what you think. Do you want to see Ahsoka get her own live-action series? And if so, what do you think it should be about? Should it pick up after Rebels and be the search for Ezra? Or would you rather see it be about something else? Whatever the case may be, leave a comment below and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.